What's going on, everybody? You're going to have to excuse my voice because I'm in recovery from being sick. But I've got another APA 9-ball match of mine that I wanted to share with everyone. And in this video, you get to see me use my new Predator cues. Now in this match, I'm up against another skill level 6. And before anybody says anything about why am I not playing against players of my skill level, you have to keep in mind that I'm not in control of what the opposing team decides to put up against me when I put myself up to play. Also, in my local league, I think there's only 2 other players that are skill level 9 and about 2 or 3 players that are skill level 8. And we hardly run into each other anyway because if one of us doesn't play, then the other one's probably not going to play either. Now in this match, as a skill level 9, I'm still going to be going to 75 points, and my opponent as a skill level 6 will be going to 46 points. And I'm going to have a running scoreboard right over here, and I've also added the number of points that we're going to that scoreboard. And I'm still going to have the cue ball diagram to indicate where I hit right over here. So sit back and enjoy the match, and I'll see you when it's over. So as with all APA matches, we start with the lag. I had won the lag, and this first rack starts off with what's known as a dirty rack, because the previous game ended with enough balls left on the table, combined with the unused stripes, to make a 9-ball rack. Now, unlike my previous matches, this one does not start off slow, as I was finally able to make a ball on the opening break. After making a ball on the break, my opening shot is a 1-rail bank shot. And here you see me measure out using the system that I demonstrated in my 1-rail banks and kicks video. Now whenever I know I'm not going to let the cue ball hit a rail after contact, or throw the object ball in, I don't use any side spin. So here, I just draw off the 7 ball to pull the cue ball up table to get position for the 8. There's nothing fancy needed to get from the 8 to the 9, and because I'm so close to the side rail, I just put topspin on the cue ball. Now here, I was actually a little worried about drawing the cue ball into the side pocket as I was getting position for the 10. So I actually hit it a little too soft and left me a sharper angle than I wanted on the 10 ball. Now I'm forced to allow the cue ball to go from one side rail to the other to get positioned on the 11 ball. Now if I can just get fairly straight in on the 13 ball, the rest of the rack should be mine. And I start the match off with a break and run. Now here's an easy opening shot to go from the 1 to the 2. Now to get from the 2 to the 3 was a little tricky with that 4 ball being there. I could have tried to play perfect position, but instead I opted to run the cue ball into the 3 and the 4 after pocketing the 2. was successful at running the cue ball into the 3 and the 4, but now I have to bridge over the 9 ball. So I elect to shoot the 3 into the upper right hand corner and play position for the 4 in the lower right hand corner. And I'd like to be straight in on the 4 so I can get position for the 6 to go in the lower left hand corner. This isn't as straight in as I would like it to be, so I'm going to try to throw the 4 ball to my left using right spin on the cue ball, which allows me to hit the 4 ball a little straighter and get position for the 6 ball in the lower left hand corner. In retrospect, I should have played position on the 6 to go in the same corner pocket as the 4 ball, but at the time, I was locked into this decision. Now I'm still going to try to shoot the 6 in the lower left corner pocket, but I'm going to try to draw the cue ball into the 8 to hold position for a cut shot on the 7 ball. And little did I know, Lady Luck was going to help me out on this one. Now I hesitated from shooting because I was planning on playing a stop shot on the 7 ball and wanted to check to see if the cue ball would be below the shot line on the 8 ball so that I can draw back into the 9 ball. If the cue ball stopped above the shot line to the 8 ball, then I would have to play it with topspin and have the cue ball come off the bottom rail to play position on the 9. But after checking, the stop shot does position the cue ball behind the shot line to the 8. And I started the match with 2 consecutive break-in runs. My run comes to an end with a dry break, and it's the worst type of dry break you can ask for with that 9 ball sitting so close to a pocket. And with an open shot to the 1 ball, my opponent has an opportunity to set up for a 2-9 combination. Because where the cue ball ended up, I can only guess that my opponent didn't want to take the 2-9 combination. Instead, he wanted to try to score more points by playing the 2 in the side and then the 3 in the corner. I, on the other hand, will not be going that route, as I will be trying to set up for the 2-9 combination. And I almost blew it. And I now have 23 unanswered points. And because of that early 9 ball combination, we have another dirty rack. Another dry break, and my opponent has an open shot on the 2 ball. My opponent manages to put together a 4-ball run and then leaves me this. My only option was to play safe. The safe was successful as my opponent did leave me an open shot after making a legal hit. So I'm going to try to play a stop shot on the 6 ball to have position on the 7. Whoops. This was a nice shot to execute. I played the 6 ball in the bottom right corner pocket, and using draw and a little bit of right, I pulled the cue ball off the side rail to have it bounce over for a position for the 7 to go into the same corner pocket. I hesitated to draw the cue ball off of the 7 to get position on the 8 because of the angle of the cut. Instead, I decided to go 2 rails using top right spin. Now if I can just avoid hitting the 11 after pocketing the 8, the rest of the rack should be mine. One thing I still don't like about APA is that push shots are not allowed after the break. So with this layout, I decided to do a Hail Mary shot and try to kick into the 1 and have the cue ball carom off the 1 and pocket the 9 ball. And I was way off on that attempt. Now here, the 3-ball freely goes into the corner pocket, so there's no reason for me to try to play the combination when I can score the rest of the points of the rack. Since I disturbed the 9-ball in the last shot, I just checked to see that the 5-ball could still pass by it to go in the upper right-hand corner pocket. This allows me to play the 4 in the upper left-hand corner pocket and stun the cue ball over to get position on the 5. In retrospect, I should have played position for the 7 and the 9 to go into the same corner pocket. Instead, I elected this 2-rail shot to shoot the 7 in the side. And even though I came up short, it's actually okay because I can just play the 7-ball in the side with topspin and the natural roll will take me over to the 9-ball. And I might even clip it on the way there. Ugh, that was a disgusting spread. And after that break, I started using a little bit more power on the rest of my breaks. My opponent puts together another 4-ball run, but was unsuccessful at playing safe on the 5. I can play the 5 in the side pocket, but because the angle is so steep, I have to play this with finesse, but I also have to make sure that I can push the 6-ball out into the open, and that's what I'm going to try to do. But it looks like I didn't push the 6-ball far enough, and even though I can try to bank the 6 in the cross corner pocket, I decide to play safe. But again, I hit the ball too soft. Now what you're about to see here is a rather long timeout session. So I'm going to speed this part up to try to save some time. So the captain comes in to coach his player on how to address this shot. And the first thing they come up with is to kick the 7-ball up table and try to leave the cue ball behind the 8 and the 9. So here you see them looking at all the different ways they could try to pull that off. But after a while, they decide to change their mind and go for a kick shot to play the 7-ball in the upper right-hand corner pocket. And they were successful. But after that great kick shot, my opponent wasn't able to finish the table, and leaves the rest to me. The spread of this break was a little better, but I don't have an open shot on the 1 ball, so I play safe. I would have liked the cue ball to end up being much closer to the 4 and 5, but I was okay with this. My opponent makes a good hit, but gets a little lucky avoiding the scratch, and leaves me this. So now I'm going to do another Hail Mary shot and try to carom the cue ball off of the 1 and pocket the 9 in the upper right hand corner pocket. Not only did I miss the carom, but I certainly didn't expect the 1 ball to catch the point of the side pocket and come back up here to give my opponent a chance to play the 1-9 carom as well. Oof, and he just barely missed. Now what I'm doing here is checking to see if I can combo the 4 into the 9. And if I can, I don't have to worry about trying to break the 4 away from the 5. I just have to play position on the 4 to get the combination. But it turns out the 7 ball is blocking the 4-9 combination. So when I play position for the 3 ball, I have to make sure I get an angle that allows me to play the 3 in the side pocket and break out the 4. Alright, now I just have to get to the 7 ball and I can end the rack. Anytime I'm elevated over a ball, I try to avoid using side spin, because I don't want the cue ball to curve on the way to the object ball and miss the shot. Alright, the rack should be mine from here. Another good break, making 3 balls this time. But my open shot is a 1-6 combination. But I know if I play this combination right, the 1 ball is going to stay down table while the cue ball works its way up table. So I decide to hit this with a little bit more speed to make sure that the cue ball goes 2 rails and comes back down table. And I was fortunate that the 5 ball did not block my shot to the 1 ball. I overestimated how much right spin to put on the cue ball because I did not want to run into the 3 ball. Now I have this thin cut shot on the 2, but if I make it, I should have natural position to make the 3 in the lower left hand corner pocket. Okay, everything looks good from here, doesn't it? Right when I hit the 5 ball, I knew I had hit the cue ball too hard. You can even see me tap the chalk on the table in frustration. Well, now I'm forced to bank the 9 ball into the cross-side pocket. And that's how you blow a break and run. Anytime I see this, it makes me believe that the player is more concerned about delivering as much power as they can into the cue ball, instead of controlling the cue ball. Now the power break was successful as my opponent did make 2 balls, but it doesn't look like he has an open shot on the 1 ball. This is a typical 3-rail position shot as I try to go from the 1 to the 3. But I certainly wasn't expecting to run into the 8. And with the 4 ball being where it's at, I elect to bank the 3 ball into the lower left hand corner pocket. Wait a minute, this looks awfully familiar. It's practically the same bank shot that I missed on my last 9-ball match. Looks looks like my opponent's going to try to bank the 3 ball into the cross side pocket. No, that looks more like he tried to play safe. This shot is by far my weakest shot. I'm going to try to play the 3 ball into the lower left-hand corner pocket, and using bottom right spin, I'm going to try to bring the cue ball 3 rails to get positioned on the 4 ball. This ever happened to any of y'all? Where you hit a shot so good, but that you don't reap any rewards for it? And then after giving ball in hand with only 4 balls left on the table for my opponent, I pretty much lost this rack. There it is again, miscuing on the break, because he's more concerned about hitting the cue ball with so much power instead of controlling it. Now here, you're seeing a conversation happen between me, the opponent, and the captain of the opposing team. Because we weren't exactly sure what to do here since my opponent scratched after hitting the rack. Does he get to break again, or do I get to break? And then even though we were unsure about the rules, the opposing team did decide to let me break. And later on, I looked up the rules and it turns out that the opponents were correct. That because the rack was struck and it did not qualify as a legal break and the cue ball scratched, the balls were re-racked and I got to break. I dropped 2 balls on the break this time, and this spread looks runnable. Never mind.
This looks like my opponent wants to bank the 5 ball on the right side of the 7 ball and leave the cue ball on the left side of the 7 ball playing safe. Not quite safe, but I don't have a shot either, so I try to play safe. And this time, I hit the ball too hard and allow the 5 ball to roll back out into the open. And with that mistake from my opponent, I should be able to seize the rest of the rack. And now I'm in the home stretch, needing only one more rack to win the entire game. I made 2 balls on the break again, but I lost control of the cue ball and don't have a shot on the 2 ball. The play here is to kick the 2 ball into the 6, but the most important part is I want to hit the 2 ball. Looks like I left a 2-6 combination for my opponent. And with that point, it looks like I have to go into another rack to win the game. Not sure what my opponent's going to try to do here. He's either going to cut the 5 in the upper left hand corner pocket or try to carom the 5 off of the 9 ball. And he almost got lucky and made the 5 ball and the 8 ball. Here I'm checking to see if the 7 ball goes into the side pocket, and it does. I just have to get perfect position on it. So I'm going to try to go 2 rails from the 5 ball, going from one side rail to the other to get positioned on the 7. But I fell short on the ideal position, and now I have to cut the 7 ball into the corner pocket. And fortunately, with the 8 ball being there, that corner pocket is a little bit bigger. But what's also fortunate is that Lady Luck says hello to me once again. And with that lucky shot, I can just play 2 rail position from the 8 to the 9 to win this rack. Now that I only need 2 more points to win the game, I decide to have a little fun and tell my team that I'm going to break with every ounce of my body. And one of my teammates was like, "Kick your leg up when you do that." Now unfortunately the camera isn't panned out far enough to where you can see me kick my leg. But it doesn't matter, because you can see I'm a victim of my own criticism. You can even see me look back at my team and say, "That's why I don't like to break like that." Now the interesting part was, if I hadn't stopped the cue ball, it did look like I was going to scratch. So my question is, if I did, do I still get to break, or does my opponent get to break? Because the rules did state that the rack has to be struck.
So there you have it, everybody. I was able to win my match 75 to 27 with 18 dead balls in 15 innings. Now, after reading some of the comments that I got on my previous matches about the commentary, I did add a little bit more, and I even tried to commentate on what I thought my opponent was doing. So how was the balance on that? Was it too much? Was it not enough? Could I do a little bit more? I still want to make sure that the video is enjoyable for you to watch and for you to be able to learn something. So if you like what you saw, give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. And here's the winner of my raffle, where Meltdown 900cc was nice enough to send me a few photos with him and his new case. Take care, everybody.